Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana here. I am live from the Beehive this morning, and I wanted to bring to you this morning my Thursday tip. Normally, I just do a blog post, and but I thought it would be better to visualize everything if I actually did a live video for you. So this week on my blog, I have been featuring the Time for Tea bundle. And for my Thursday tip, I'm also going to be using the Time for Tea bundle. But my tip has to do with the Big Shot Embossing Mats. And so these are the new mats. They are in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, and they come with 3 pieces. And I'm going to turn the camera around in a moment and show you the 3 pieces and how I'm going to use them today. But these are relatively inexpensive. They are $15 in the US, and they will give you a whole bunch more that you can do with your dies. And today I'm going to be talking about punched and die cut shapes and how you can use those with your embossing mats. So I'm going to just get started. I'm going to be posting this video on my blog afterwards. So if you want to refer back to it, if you caught me halfway through and you want to catch the full thing afterwards, just make sure you check out my blog. I put the link in the description of this video, so you should be able to find it really easily. So let me flip around and let's check out. Oh, there's my view this morning. It's a nice day. I woke up today and it was 20 degrees Celsius. You're probably thinking, what is she talking about Celsius? Well, in Canada we used to do Celsius, and so I'm on the Celsius kick right now. It's nice and warm, so I'm very happy. I'm actually wearing a t-shirt today instead of a turtleneck, and I'm just like feeling, whoa. So anyway, here are the Big Shot Embossing Mats. They come with 3 things. You'll get this thin blue silicone mat. You'll get a thicker gray silicone mat, and you will get the impressions pad. So today I am not going to be using the thin one, so I can just set that aside, and we will be using these to emboss shapes with. So I'm going to be making a card, but first I'm going to show you how I put everything together so I can emboss. So you'll need your Big Shot, and I've got my regular platform that came with the machine. If you still have an old platform, you know, the ones with the hinge, you know, you can use that as well. No worries. I'm going to first be cutting the shapes that I want to emboss, and then I'm going to be embossing with them. So I've got my platform, I've got my thin die adapter, I'll need a cutting plate, I will need a piece of cardstock, and I'm using regular thickness of cardstock. I'll need 2 die cut shapes with regular thickness. I am going to be using this die here. It's a scallop circle with little holes in it from the Spot of Tea framelits. And one thing, if you're using the Spot of Tea framelits, this has nothing to do with the Big Shot embossing folder, but I've marked mine with the top where it says Sizzix on my die. I put a little black line to remind me that this die is not perfectly symmetrical. And so I can help myself out a little bit by marking things. So I'm putting the black to the top, and then I'm also going to put a little arrow on my cardstock here to just tell me that that is up. So I'll just run this through. I like to run things through from left to right. I try and do it both ways. You can, but I just prefer to do it this way. So here's my first piece. I'll do it again. Same thing. I'm going to put my black to the top and an arrow so I know that that is up. You won't need to do this with all dies. Like say you're doing circles or if you're doing a symmetrical shape, this will not matter at all. But for me, for this particular set of dies, I will need this. So I've got my two shapes already cut out. Oh, I did miss a little bit on that one. That is not good. Let me see if I have another piece. I need to do that again. I need another piece of thick, very vanilla. Just give me a second. So the reason I can't use this shape right here is, where is it? Right here, there's a little bit of an indent right there, and that is not good. I'm just noticing something that I'm just gonna turn my camera around because I did not like the way that was working out. Let me go back. I don't want anything. How do I exit here? Okay. There we go, that's better. Okay, I had my thing mirroring and it was not making me very happy. All right, back to my regular scheduled program. See how there's a bite out of here? That could affect the embossing. You want two perfectly cut shapes in order to do this. So I kind of shifted this too much. So let me do this once more. I'm putting in my shape, another arrow, and let me cut this one more time. This time I'm going to have a symmetrical shape that we can emboss with. Okay, so what you'll want to do too is if you have any of these little chads that didn't come out, you'll want to poke those out because I also want to emboss those little holes. So if they're not there, they can't emboss. See how this one kind of popped out nicely already, so those are good to go. Then we're going to take, let me move this aside for a second. I want to have both of these shapes, I want to adhere them together because I want to have a nice deep emboss pattern. I could do it with one and it would be a little shallower, but with two you're going to have a deeper design. So I'm just going to take some snail and put it on here, and I'm going to, you notice how the arrows now are going to help me line this up, right? Because I know that this is going to be perfectly on top of each other because I know. So there's that. And now let me bring back in the Big Shot and get rid of this. Okay, so let me build my sandwich. I don't need the thin die adapter anymore. And I want one cutting pad. So look at your cutting pads. Choose the one that is straighter. Okay, so base platform, if you have the one that has the hinge, make sure it's open up all the way. Base platform. Then you're going to take your gray silicone mat, put it down. We're going to be embossing onto a piece of Whisper White cardstock. I'm going to emboss this shape right here into the center of this piece. So for my card, I have this coming up, so it's actually going to be facing up like this. So I'm going to make myself a little mark here, a little pencil mark at the top, and that's just going to be a reminder again that this is facing up, because I'm going to show you something a little later and I want to make sure that I know which way this is facing up. So I'm going to just center this shape onto my piece as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it as close as you can to being right in the middle of your cardstock. Then I'm going to put it right as close to the edge as I can possibly get. So my edge of the cardstock is right here. The reason you're going to want to do this is as the piece goes through the Big Shot, the silicone mat stretches. I haven't adhered this shape on here at all. So if I just leave it on top of here and it's over in the middle, this shape will probably shift, because ask me how I know. I know I've done that before and it shifted. So I want it right against the edge. The other thing you have to be really careful of is your embossing impressions pad has the word Sizzix on it. So the first time I did it, I didn't realize it, and I had this face down on my cardstock, and it actually embossed the word Sizzix right into my cardstock, which I really, really didn't want. So what I did was I took a Sharpie and I highlighted the word Sizzix, so that I know I always need to look out for that. It's always going to kind of stand out a little bit. Before it was just embossed into the white. I didn't even notice the word Sizzix on there. So if you want to just highlight it with something like a black Sharpie, I did it with a silver Sharpie, and that way just always make sure that's facing up so you'll never have that problem. Okay, so let's put this right on top here like that. And then I'm going to run it through Big Shot. And this is the result. A nice deeply embossed middle focal point. So isn't that cool? And then you can reuse this piece over and over again. So you've already got the piece, you can use it again. I would just always, if you're going to use this particular die, you need to mark which way is up. So let me set this aside for a moment, and I'm actually, you know what? I want to show you one more thing while I have this here. And then I'll finish off the card for everyone, and so you can see the card I actually made. So remember yesterday how I did the Hershey's One Kiss teacup, this little guy, and I created this little saucer with this little indent in it. So I want to show you once more how I did that. So again, I build my sandwich in the exact same way. I've got my platform, I've got one of my cutting plates, I've got my gray silicone mat. Then I've die cut the smaller of the 2 scallop circles, so we'll put that down here. And yesterday I showed you, I just took the punch, the 1 1/4 inch circle punch, and I punched 2 pieces of the thick Whisper White out of that, and I adhered them together with snail or any other adhesive is fine too, but I just adhered those 2 together. That will allow you to actually emboss any punched shape that you have. So you can punch anything that you have and you can emboss it onto your cardstock. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to just take this again and put it right to the edge. I'm going to put my circle right on top. Make sure it's centered. Okay, once that looks good, take your impressions pad and stick it on top, and then you can run this through. And that is how I created the saucer yesterday. So this is really versatile. You can use it with both die cut shapes and punch shapes. I like using 2 thickness, two shapes together. It gives you a little bit deeper than if you just use one. So that will create that. So then the next thing we do, I want to show you how I finish off this card right here. This is the card that I made, and it uses this embossed area in the center for the image. So what you would just do is come in with your teacup stamp. I'm going to open up my basic gray, just like a compact. I like to slide it down on my table, makes it a little easier. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp the teacup down here near the bottom, like that. And then I'm going to take my stamp. Now this one has 2 greetings on it. It says warmed with love, steeped in friendship. I only want to use warmed with love, so I actually cut this in half, okay? So I took off Steeped in Friendship. I cut it for the other card the other day. And now I'm using the top half. So this is kind of fun that you can cut apart stamps and use them. So this says Warmed with Love now, and I can just ink that up and let me stamp that. It's hard to see. I'm getting a little bit of light refraction coming in from my window, so I'm hoping that this is pretty close to being centered. But doesn't that look nice, having that indent right there? So then one other thing that I need to show you, I won't build the full card, but I'm going to open up my old olive here. So now how do I get these leaves so that they're not on this middle shape? So I created myself a mask. I cut another scallop circle with that same die that we were using, and I've put an arrow at the top. So it's going to fit in to my area like that. So just like keep it down like that. And then you can take your leaves, and I'm going to use my outline first. Make sure it's still where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to come in and stamp over top of my image. I'm going to turn this so it's like this and like that. Then for the, you can go ahead, this won't look that great because I haven't stamped in the inside yet, but I'll just show you real quick how you do that. You just come in, I need a little piece of scrap cardstock. This is the fill for those leaves. So I'm just going to ink that up in Old Olive, stamp it off once, make sure my mask is still in place, and then just line it up over top of the outline like that. And you get the idea. You just need to line it up and stamp it. So that's how you would do it, like for the other two down there as well. And then what I would do is these flowers were just stamped on a scrap piece of paper and die cut with the dies that come with your Spot of Tea framelits. I used crushed curry for those, and then I just added them on top right here. I used Stampin' Blends to color in the teacup. The only other thing I did, to grab it real quick, this is the Detail Trio Punch. I came in here and I corner rounded the bottom and one of the top corners to give it a little bit of a different sort of look. And then I mounted it on a Pool Party card base. So that's like a really easy way to just have a different thing that you can do with your punched shapes and with your die cut shapes. There is also a way to emboss the actual die. I'll show that to you a different time. That has a slightly different sandwich, and it has a slightly different look. So maybe on the next video I will show you the difference between doing an embossed shape versus doing the detailed, the actual die. So let me just turn you guys around again. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. So let's just look up here. I don't see any questions right now, but I will be posting this video, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to post them right on my Facebook page, or if you're looking at this on my blog or YouTube, just go ahead and ask me questions on there, and I will try and get to them as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining me today, and my Thursday tip If you're interested in any of the supplies that I used today, please look at the description of the video and click on that, and it will take you to the blog post, and you'll be able to click on any of those links. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.